U.S. stock futures opened mostly flat to modestly higher this morning, as investors await the Federal Reserve's interest rate announcement and key megacap earnings from Microsoft and Meta platforms. The Federal Reserve opted to keep interest rates steady at 4.5% to 4.50%, maintaining a moderately restrictive stance. This move came despite a stronger-than-expected 3% Q2 GDP growth and solid July ADP jobs data showing 104,000 private sector job gains. Notably, two Fed governors dissented, calling for rate cuts, first such dissent since 1993. Powell indicated no clear cut in September without further data, though the S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures edged higher roughly plus 0.1%. Dow futures remain flat. Markets are digesting recent earnings misses from United Health, UPS, Merck, and Whirlpool that pulled major indexes lower yesterday. Starbucks popped nearly 5% in pre-market trading after reporting Q3 revenue that beat expectations despite weakening same-store sales. Seagate fell approximately 6% with a weak revenue outlook amid softening PC demand. Sarepta Therapeutics jumped approximately 10% after FDA approval of continued sales of its muscular dystrophy therapy. Investors are bracing for high-impact Q2 earnings from Microsoft and Meta platforms after the market close. Microsoft is forecasting approximately 14% revenue growth, and Meta is expected to report approximately 15% growth, driven by AI investments such as its new superintelligence labs and a heavy bet on scale AI. Both stocks have risen approximately 20% year-to-date. Resurgence in investor sentiment toward U.S. equities, driven by recent trade deals involving the EU, Japan, and other nations, reversing global sell America positioning. However, elevated trade tensions remain. President Trump announced 25% tariffs on Indian imports effective immediately, sending Indian markets lower and futures down sharply. Europe's automakers, including Porsche and Mercedes, warn of rising costs and forecast cuts tied to new EU-US trade policies. Institutional investors increasingly shift toward defensive positioning. Nearly half believe markets are overlooking long-term tariff risks. Fed Chair Powell's press conference to PMET, looking for tone in September rate indicators. Earnings: Microsoft, Meta today, followed by Amazon and Apple on Thursday. Economic data: Q2 GDP, ADP private payrolls today, and Friday's July PCE inflation report. Tariffs: impacts of new India tariffs and global trade dialogue developments. Optimism persists around big tech earnings and economic resilience, yet elevated valuations, mounting tariffs, and mixed earnings results are prompting a cautious tone. Investors seem selective, holding on to near-term upside but keeping hedges in balance.